Ladies and gentlemen, in life we often find ourselves entangled in worries, fears and frustrations over things we cannot control. We stress over how people perceive us, fear outcomes that are beyond our influence, and lament circumstances that we have no power to change. This constant struggle against the uncontrollable leads to anxiety, disappointment, and a sense of helplessness. However, a different approach exists, one rooted in wisdom and clarity. When we shift our focus solely to what we can control and let go of the rest, we liberate ourselves from unnecessary suffering and unlock a deeper sense of peace and empowerment. One of the biggest sources of frustration in life comes from trying to control external events and other people. We often wish that circumstances would align perfectly to our desires, that others would behave exactly as we expect, and that life would unfold without obstacles. However, reality is unpredictable and indifferent to our personal preferences. No matter how much effort we put into trying to manipulate situations or people, there will always be factors beyond our influence. Recognizing this fundamental truth is the first step towards self-mastery. The weather does not change based on our wishes. If we have outdoor plans and it begins to rain, no amount of anger or frustration will alter the clouds. In such situations we have two choices. We can complain, feel miserable, and allow the weather to ruin our day, or we can adapt by carrying an umbrella, changing our plans, or even embracing the rain as part of the experience. The outcome remains the same, but our response determines whether we suffer or remain at peace. The same principle applies to all areas of life. When we accept what is beyond our control and shift our attention to what we can influence, we reclaim our power. Other people's opinions, words, and actions are another major source of distress. We often dwell on how we are perceived, fearing judgment, rejection, or criticism. Yet, no matter how much we try to please others, we cannot control their thoughts. Some may admire us while others may misunderstand or dislike us, often for reasons beyond our knowledge or influence. If we base our self-worth on external approval, we become prisoners of the ever-changing opinions of others. True freedom comes when we stop seeking validation from the outside world and instead focus on living in accordance with our own values. Similarly, relationships can be a source of deep pain when we try to control another person's feelings, actions, or choices. We may want a loved one to change, to act differently, or to make decisions that align with our vision. However, just as we do not want others to control us, we must accept that we cannot control them. Instead of forcing change upon someone, we can lead by example, offer guidance, and support them in their journey, but ultimately, their choices are their own. Letting go of the need to control others allows us to focus on what we can control: our own behavior, our own reactions, and our own reactions. The past is another aspect of life that many people struggle to let go of. We replay past mistakes, regrets, and painful experiences, wishing we could change what has already happened. However, the past is unchangeable, no matter how much we dwell on it. The only thing within our control is how we interpret and learn from it. Instead of wasting energy lamenting what cannot be undone, we can extract wisdom from our experiences and use that knowledge to make better choices moving forward. Accepting the past as it is and shifting our focus to the present moment empowers us to create a better future. Similarly, the future remains uncertain, despite our best efforts to plan and predict outcomes. Many people become paralyzed by fear of what might go wrong, imagining worst-case scenarios that may never happen. While planning and preparation are important, excessive worry about the unknown only drains our energy and prevents us from fully living in the present. By focusing on what we can do today, taking meaningful action, making wise decisions, and adapting as circumstances evolve, we prepare ourselves to handle whatever the future may bring without being consumed by fear. Another crucial aspect of self-mastery is emotional control. While we cannot prevent emotions from arising, we can control how we respond to them. Anger, frustration, jealousy, and sadness are natural human experiences, but allowing them to dictate our actions leads to impulsive decisions and unnecessary suffering. When we train ourselves to pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom, rather than react impulsively, we regain control over our inner world. This does not mean suppressing emotions, but rather acknowledging them without being ruled by them. A powerful exercise in practicing control over what we can and letting go of the rest is shifting our internal dialogue. When faced with a difficult situation, instead of asking, Why is this happening to me? We can ask, what can I do about it? This small change in mindset transforms us from victims of circumstance into active participants in shaping our own lives. It helps us direct our energy towards solutions rather than complaints. Another practical approach is to set clear distinctions between what is within our control and what is not. When facing a challenge, we can mentally divide it into two categories: aspects we can influence and aspects we must accept. This simple exercise helps us allocate our energy wisely, focusing our efforts on actions that lead to change while releasing attachment to outcomes beyond our reach. For instance, if someone is struggling to achieve a goal, they can control their effort, their dedication and their mindset, but they cannot control external factors such as market conditions, other people's decisions, or unforeseen obstacles. By concentrating on consistent action and resilience rather than worrying about uncontrollable variables, they increase their chances of success while maintaining inner peace. Letting go of control does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means understanding where our energy is best invested. It means acknowledging that while we cannot control every outcome, we can always control our attitude, our choices, and our responses. It means recognizing that true strength lies not in trying to control everything, but in knowing when to hold on and when to let go. By embracing this mindset, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress, build inner resilience, and cultivate a sense of peace that is unshaken by external circumstances. Instead of being pulled in different directions by forces beyond our control, we anchor ourselves in what truly matters: our own actions, our own growth, and our own character. And in doing so, we master ourselves and in turn master our lives. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as a form of restriction, a limitation on personal freedom. They believe that to be free, one must do whatever they please, whenever they please, without rules or boundaries. Yet, this idea leads not to freedom, but to enslavement to impulses, distractions, and weaknesses. True freedom does not come from indulging every desire, but from having the strength to control those desires. Discipline is not a cage, it is the key that unlocks the highest form of liberty, the ability to govern oneself, to act with purpose rather than react out of impulse, and to build a life of meaning rather than one of regret. A person who lacks discipline may believe they are free because they follow their whims, but in reality, they are at the mercy of their emotions, cravings, and habits. They wake up late, procrastinate on important tasks, and seek short-term pleasure over long-term fulfillment. Their lives become dictated by external circumstances rather than their own will. They struggle with health because they lack the discipline to eat well and exercise. They struggle with relationships because they cannot control their words and emotions. They struggle with success because they cannot focus their efforts consistently. Such a person may feel free in the moment, but is ultimately trapped in a cycle of unfulfilled potential. In contrast, a disciplined person understands that self-control is the foundation of real freedom. They wake up early, not because they are forced to, but because they have trained themselves to value time. They choose to eat healthy, not because they are restricted, but because they have the wisdom to prioritize long-term well-being over momentary pleasure. They work hard not because someone is watching, but because they recognize that success is a result of consistent effort. They resist distractions, not because they do not enjoy them, but because they understand the importance of focusing on what truly matters. This level of self-discipline leads to mastery over life. When you control your habits, your time, and your actions, you are no longer controlled by external forces. One of the most profound examples of discipline leading to freedom is in physical health. A person who eats whatever they want, avoids exercise, and indulges in unhealthy habits may feel free in the moment. They enjoy the taste of junk food, the comfort of inactivity, and the immediate pleasure of indulgence. However, over time they become prisoners of their own bodies, gaining excess weight, feeling sluggish, and developing health issues that limit their movement and energy. They may wish to be active, but their body refuses to cooperate. Their so-called freedom has led to restriction. Meanwhile, the disciplined person who exercises regularly and eats mindfully enjoys true freedom, the freedom to move with ease, to have energy throughout the day, and to maintain strength and vitality well into old age. The same principle applies to financial freedom. A A person without financial discipline spends impulsively, relying on credit cards, living beyond their means, and constantly chasing the next purchase to feel happy. They feel free when they buy whatever they want, but over time, debt accumulates, stress increases, and financial burdens weigh them down. They become trapped by their own lack of control, forced to work jobs they dislike just to pay off their past choices. On the other hand, the disciplined person who saves, invests, and spends wisely may initially sacrifice some pleasures, but in return, they gain true financial freedom, the ability to make choices without being controlled by debt or financial stress. Their discipline grants them independence, security, and the power to live life on their terms. Mental and emotional freedom also stem from discipline. Many people are controlled by their emotions. They react impulsively to anger, stress, or fear, allowing their moods to dictate their actions. This lack of control leads to unnecessary conflicts, regrets, and poor decision-making. However, a person who practices emotional discipline learns to pause before reacting. They develop patience, emotional intelligence, and the ability to remain calm in difficult situations. They do not allow negative emotions to control them. Instead, they acknowledge them, understand them, and choose their response wisely. This ability to master one's emotions leads to greater peace, stronger relationships, and a clearer mind. Discipline also frees the mind from distraction. In the modern world, endless entertainment, notifications, and social media constantly pull people away from meaningful work and deep thinking. Many struggle to focus for even a few minutes without checking their phones or being tempted by some form of distraction. They feel overwhelmed, unable to complete important tasks, and stuck in a loop of wasted time. But those who cultivate mental discipline can resist distractions and focus their energy where it matters. They train their minds to stay present, to engage deeply with their work, and to think critically without being swayed by fleeting impulses. This level of focus leads to true intellectual freedom, the ability to think independently, learn deeply, and create meaningful work. Another aspect of discipline that leads to freedom is mastery over time. Many people feel they never have enough time, always rushing, always behind on responsibilities. They feel overwhelmed, yet much of their time is lost to procrastination, indecision, and unproductive habits. A disciplined person, however, values time as their most precious resource. They plan their days with intention, prioritize important tasks, and eliminate unnecessary distractions. As a result, they have more time to do what truly matters, to pursue passions, to spend quality moments with loved ones, and to achieve meaningful goals. Their discipline with time grants them the freedom to live fully and purposefully. Ultimately, discipline is not about deprivation, it is about empowerment. It is the ability to say no to what weakens you, so that you can say yes to what strengthens you. It is the ability to resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term fulfillment. It is the power to shape your own destiny, instead of being shaped by circumstances. Those who embrace discipline in all areas of life, physical, mental, emotional, financial, and intellectual, gain the ultimate form of freedom, the ability to live with purpose, control, and true independence. Hardship is often seen as an unwelcome intruder, something to be avoided at all costs. People seek comfort, security, and ease, believing that happiness is found in the absence of struggle. Yet those who truly grow, those who become strong, wise, and resilient, understand that hardship is not an enemy, it is a teacher. Adversity shapes character, reveals strengths, and forces transformation in ways that comfort never can. The greatest lessons in life are often hidden within our most difficult experiences, and those who embrace hardship rather than resist it unlock a deeper sense of purpose, wisdom, and inner strength. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully one plans, challenges will arise. People will experience failure, loss, disappointment, and moments of doubt. Some will see these hardships as proof that life is unfair, that they are unlucky, or that they are simply not meant to succeed. But others will see the same hardships as opportunities to learn, to grow, to develop resilience. The way one chooses to interpret hardship determines whether it becomes a source of suffering or a source of strength. A setback can be the end of a journey or the beginning of a transformation. A failure can be a sign to quit or a lesson in perseverance. The experience itself does not define a person, how they respond to it does. When difficulties arise, the natural reaction is often resistance. People ask, why is this happening to me? They feel frustrated, discouraged, or even defeated. But hardship does not come with the intention to destroy, it comes to refine. Fire burns, but it also purifies metal, making it stronger. Pressure can break, but it can also form diamonds. Every great achievement, every strong individual, has been shaped by challenges that forced them to grow beyond their previous limitations. Without hardship, there is no strength. Without struggle, there is no progress. Physical strength is built through resistance. A person does not become strong by lifting light weights or avoiding exertion. Strength comes from pushing against difficulty, from embracing discomfort, from enduring pain and continuing forward. The same is true for mental and emotional strength. A person who avoids challenges, who seeks only comfort, remains weak. But a person who faces difficulty head-on, who accepts hardship as part of life and a means of growth, becomes unshakable. They learn to endure pain, to overcome obstacles, to remain steady in the face of adversity. Failure is one of the greatest teachers, but only for those willing to learn from it. Many people fear failure because they associate it with shame or inadequacy. They believe that failing means they are not good enough, that they should give up. But failure is not a sign to stop. It is a lesson to improve. Every failure reveals something, a weakness to strengthen, a mistake to correct, a new approach to try. The most successful people in history did not avoid failure. They embraced it, learned from it, and used it as a stepping stone to success. They understood that failure is not the opposite of success, but a necessary part of the journey. Pain, too, is a teacher. Emotional pain, loss, and heartbreak are inevitable in life. People will lose loved ones, experience betrayals, and face moments of deep sorrow. It is in these moments that they have a choice to let the pain break them or to let it shape them. Those who resist pain, who try to escape it or numb it, only prolong their suffering. But those who accept it, who sit with it, who allow themselves to feel and understand it, gain a deeper perspective on life. They develop empathy, wisdom, and a greater appreciation for the moments of joy and peace. Pain reminds people of what truly matters. It strips away illusions, forcing them to see life with clarity. Adversity also teaches patience. In a world that values speed and immediate gratification, hardship forces people to slow down, to endure, to trust the process. Success, mastery, and deep understanding take time. No great achievement happens overnight. Hardship teaches that not everything is within immediate control, that some things require persistence, endurance, and trust in the journey. The person who understands this does not become frustrated when things do not go as planned. Instead, they remain steady, knowing that struggle is part of the process and that true growth happens over time. Hardship reveals character. When everything is going well, it is easy to be kind, patient, and optimistic. But it is during times of struggle that true character is tested. Does a person remain honest when tempted to take an easier, dishonest path? Do they remain patient when things are not happening on their timeline? Do they continue forward when everything inside them wants to quit? Hardship strips away pretenses, revealing who a person truly is. It also provides an opportunity to build character, to develop integrity, perseverance, and wisdom. There is a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from overcoming hardship. A person who has never faced difficulty, who has never struggled, does not know the same depth of satisfaction as someone who has fought through adversity and come out stronger. The feeling of victory after a long battle, the sense of accomplishment after pushing through doubt and fear, is something that cannot be given, it must be earned. The person who embraces hardship, who welcomes challenges as opportunities to grow, experiences life on a deeper, richer level. Even in the darkest moments, hardship offers something valuable. It teaches perspective, showing that even the worst experiences are temporary, that no storm lasts forever. It builds resilience, proving that a person is capable of far more than they once believed. It deepens gratitude, making one appreciate the small joys and victories that might have otherwise been overlooked. Hardship, when embraced, does not take away from life, it adds to it. It enriches, strengthens, and refines. The truth is, no one escapes hardship. Every person, no matter how privileged or fortunate, will face challenges. But what separates those who grow from those who suffer is mindset. The person who resists, who avoids, who complains, remains stuck in suffering. The person who embraces, who learns, who adapts, transforms hardship into fuel for greatness. It is not about wishing for an easy life, it is about becoming strong enough to handle whatever life brings. Those who understand this do not fear hardship, they welcome it, knowing that within every struggle lies the opportunity to rise higher, to become better, and to master themselves. The ability to master the mind and emotions is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop. The world is full of external challenges, unpredictable events, and difficult people. But the true battle is always internal. Those who lack control over their minds and emotions are at the mercy of circumstances, reacting impulsively, feeling overwhelmed, and being swayed by every obstacle they encounter. However, those who learn to govern their thoughts and emotions gain an unshakable inner strength. They remain calm in chaos, make wise decisions under pressure, and maintain clarity in the face of adversity. By mastering the mind and emotions, one ultimately masters life. The mind is constantly active, generating thoughts, memories, and interpretations of the world. Without control, it can become a source of suffering. Negative thoughts spiral out of control, anxiety takes over, and self-doubt holds a person back from reaching their potential. Many people believe they are powerless over their own thoughts, that emotions simply happen to them, and that they must respond according to their feelings. But this is an illusion. Thoughts and emotions may arise on their own, but a person always has the power to choose how to engage with them. Recognizing this power is the first step towards self-mastery. A person who has not trained their mind is easily controlled by fleeting emotions. When anger arises, they lash out. When fear appears, they retreat. When doubt creeps in, they abandon their goals. This pattern repeats endlessly, leading to frustration, regret, and a sense of being out of control. But when a person becomes aware of their emotions and learns to separate their identity from them, they regain control. They understand that just because they feel anger does not mean they must act on it. Just because they experience fear does not mean they must surrender to it. Just because a negative thought appears does not mean it is true. This ability to observe emotions without being ruled by them is what separates those who are strong from those who are easily shaken. Training the mind requires discipline and awareness. Many people live on autopilot, reacting to situations based on old habits and emotional patterns. They do not question their thoughts or analyze their reactions. But self-mastery begins with awareness, observing thoughts as they arise, recognizing emotional triggers, and questioning whether a reaction is truly necessary. A person who masters their mind pauses before reacting. Instead of allowing an insult to provoke anger, they take a step back and choose a response. Instead of allowing fear to stop them from pursuing a goal, they acknowledge the fear but take action anyway. This deliberate control over thoughts and emotions leads to a life of greater peace, wisdom, and resilience. Emotional mastery does not mean suppressing feelings. Many misunderstand self-control as avoidance, believing that mastering emotions means ignoring sadness, anger, or frustration. But true mastery is not about denial, it is about understanding. When a person is sad, instead of resisting or drowning in sorrow, they ask, "Why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion teaching me?" When anger arises, instead of reacting impulsively, they question, "Is this anger justified? Will acting on it help or harm me?" By engaging with emotions in a conscious way, they gain insight and prevent themselves from being ruled by fleeting feelings. One of the greatest challenges in mastering the mind is overcoming fear. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions, often holding people back from pursuing their dreams, speaking their truth, or taking necessary risks. Many allow fear to dictate their choices, staying in situations that do not serve them, avoiding challenges, and playing life small. But fear is simply a signal, it is not a command. When fear appears, the mind can either surrender to it or question it. Often fear is based on imagined outcomes, exaggerations, or past conditioning rather than reality. A person who has mastered their mind acknowledges fear but does not allow it to control them. They act in spite of fear, proving to themselves that they are stronger than their doubts. Another key aspect of self-mastery is learning to let go of unnecessary suffering. Many people hold on to past pain, dwelling on regrets, grudges, and disappointments. Their minds replay negative events, keeping them stuck in old emotions. But the past cannot be changed, and carrying its weight only drains energy. Those who master their minds learn to release what no longer serves them. They recognize that every experience, even painful ones, has shaped them, but that clinging to pain does not heal it. They accept, learn, and move forward. This ability to let go is one of the greatest signs of mental and emotional strength. Mastering emotions also involves developing inner peace. Many seek peace from external sources, relationships, material success, or distractions, but true peace comes from within. A person who has control over their emotions does not allow external events to disturb their inner state. They remain steady whether facing praise or criticism, success or failure. This does not mean they do not feel emotions, but that they do not allow emotions to dictate their sense of well-being. They understand that happiness is not found in changing circumstances but in a controlled and disciplined mind. A practical way to develop mastery over the mind is through mindfulness and self-reflection. Many go through life without ever questioning their own thoughts, unaware of how much their mind shapes their reality. By practicing mindfulness, one becomes aware of their inner world. Instead of reacting unconsciously, they observe their thoughts and emotions with curiosity. They learn to detach from negativity, to see thoughts as passing events rather than absolute truths. Through daily reflection, they identify patterns, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. Over time, this practice strengthens their ability to remain in control, even in the face of difficulty. Mastering the mind also leads to better relationships. Many conflicts arise not because of external problems, but because of uncontrolled emotions, anger, jealousy, insecurity. A person who has learned to manage their emotions communicates more effectively, remains patient in disagreements, and approaches relationships with wisdom, rather than impulsivity. They do not allow small misunderstandings to escalate, nor do they take things personally. This emotional stability creates stronger, healthier connections with others. A mind that is trained is a powerful tool. It becomes a source of strength rather than a source of suffering. It remains focused, clear, and resilient no matter what life brings. It does not fall victim to overthinking, doubt, or fear. Those who master their minds and emotions gain a level of freedom that few ever achieve. They are no longer controlled by circumstances, by other people's opinions, or by their own fleeting feelings. They choose their responses, direct their thoughts, and maintain inner peace. In doing so, they do not just master their emotions, they master life itself. Living by virtue rather than by opinion is one of the greatest forms of freedom. In a world where people are constantly seeking approval, adjusting their actions to fit expectations, and fearing judgment, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Many live as prisoners of others' opinions, shaping their decisions based on what is popular rather than what is right. But true strength lies in living according to virtue, choosing integrity, wisdom, and courage over external validation. When a person commits to living by their principles rather than the shifting opinions of society, they gain an unshakable sense of purpose and inner peace. Opinions are constantly changing. What is praised today may be criticized tomorrow. People's judgments are often influenced by emotions, trends, or personal biases rather than truth. If a person bases their self-worth on the approval of others, they will always be at the mercy of something outside their control. They will hesitate to speak their truth, fear making unpopular decisions, and live with anxiety about how they are perceived. But virtue does not change. Integrity, honesty, courage, and wisdom remain valuable regardless of what society says. A person who lives by virtue does not waver with the opinions of others. They stand firm, knowing that true worth comes from within. One of the greatest traps in life is the need for validation. Many people make decisions not because they believe in them, but because they want approval. They choose careers based on status rather than passion. They conform to social norms even when they conflict with their values. They hold back their opinions for fear of criticism. But living in this way leads to frustration, because no amount of external validation can replace inner fulfillment. The moment one stops seeking constant approval and starts living according to virtue, they experience true freedom. They no longer feel the need to impress, to prove themselves, or to chase acceptance. Instead, they live with purpose, guided by what is right rather than what is popular. Living by virtue requires courage. It means standing firm in one's beliefs even when they are unpopular. It means choosing honesty over deceit, even when lying would be easier. It means making the right choice, not the convenient one. This path is not always comfortable, but it leads to a deeper sense of integrity. A person who lives virtuously may not always be liked, but they will always respect themselves. And self-respect is far more valuable than fleeting approval. One of the challenges of living by virtue is the pressure as defined in form. Society often rewards those who fit in and criticizes those who stand out. People fear being judged, excluded, or misunderstood. But true strength comes from resisting this pressure and staying true to one's values. The greatest thinkers, leaders, and visionaries in history were often criticized in their time because they chose to live by principle rather than public opinion. They refused to betray their beliefs for the sake of acceptance, and in doing so they left a lasting impact. Another challenge is dealing with criticism. No matter how virtuous a person is, they will face judgment. There will always be those who misunderstand, disagree, or disapprove. But their opinions do not define reality. A person who seeks only to please others will constantly shift their actions, trying to meet impossible expectations. But a person who lives by virtue does not let criticism shake them. They understand that living with integrity is more important than being liked. They choose to remain true to their values, knowing that their worth is not dependent on external approval. Living by virtue also brings clarity. When a person is not concerned with opinions, they make decisions based on what is right, rather than what is expected. They are not distracted by trends or swayed by pressure. They focus on developing wisdom, strengthening their character, and acting with integrity. This clarity allows them to navigate life with confidence, free from the confusion that comes with constantly seeking validation. Virtue is also the foundation of true leadership. Those who lead by example, who stand by their principles even in the face of opposition, inspire others. People may not always agree with them, but they respect their authenticity. A person who is guided by virtue does not manipulate, deceive, or act for personal gain. They make decisions based on truth and justice, regardless of whether they are popular. This kind of leadership, one based on integrity rather than approval, creates lasting impact. There is also a deep sense of inner peace that comes with living by virtue. A person who constantly chases opinions is never truly at rest. They worry about what others think, second-guess their choices, and feel anxious about judgment. But a person who lives by virtue has nothing to fear. They know that as long as they act with integrity, they have done what is right. They sleep peacefully, free from the stress of trying to meet shifting expectations. Their mind is not burdened by regret because they did not compromise their values for the sake of approval. Many people believe that living by virtue means being rigid or closed-minded, but this is not true. Virtue is not about stubbornness, it is about wisdom. A virtuous person is open to learning, growing, and improving, but they do not abandon their principles simply to fit in. They seek truth, not popularity. They listen to different perspectives, but they do not compromise what they know to be right. This balance allows them to remain both principled and open-minded, strong yet adaptable. Living by virtue also leads to deeper relationships. Many friendships and social connections are built on shallow foundations, shared interests, convenience, or mutual validation. But true relationships are built on respect, trust, and authenticity. When a person lives by virtue, they attract those who value integrity. They form connections based on genuine respect rather than social status. They do not need to pretend to be someone they are not, because they know that real relationships are based on truth. The most meaningful life is one lived according to principle, not opinion. Popularity fades, trends change, and people's judgments shift with time. But virtue endures. A person who lives by virtue leaves behind a legacy of integrity, wisdom, and courage. They may not always be understood, but they will always be respected both by others and, more importantly, by themselves. They do not live in fear of what others think, because they know that true fulfillment comes not from approval, but from living a life of meaning, purpose, and unwavering integrity. In the end, Living by virtue rather than opinion is the path to true freedom. The world will always have expectations, judgments, and shifting standards, but none of these should dictate who you are. When you choose to live with integrity, wisdom, and courage, you free yourself from the need for external validation. You become the master of your own life, guided by principles that do not change with the tides of public opinion. People may not always understand you. They may criticize, disagree, or question your choices. But their approval is fleeting, while the strength of your character lasts a lifetime. In the quiet moments, when no one is watching, you will know that you stood firm, that you remained true to yourself, and that you lived with purpose. That is a life well lived, not one shaped by the expectations of others, but one built on the unwavering foundation of virtue.